What do you need to post your podcast once it's done? We use Libsyn. When you first open your account, you set it up with all your social media places that you want your podcast to go. All the platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher. You want your podcast available wherever people get your podcasts. Accessibility is the name of the game. Key things that you need are the copy, that paragraph description of what your podcast is, the title and all that stuff, and your show notes. You need artwork. So you have to have a logo. And in order to get into iTunes, the logo has very specific specs. You have to set up accounts manually, only one time though, in Google Play, Apple Podcasts, so you have to have an iTunes account. But once you do that, it's automated. So when you publish your next episode, it goes out to the world in all these places, including those social media sites. And what's cool about that is it creates an embedded player inside Twitter, and for Facebook, it creates a video, just like a static image. And the reason that's really valuable is because when people discover your podcast inside those environments, they want to test it out. Then they can go to their app or wherever and actually subscribe to your show. So Libsyn does all of this for you. It's a very, very powerful tool. And it also gives you a ton of analytics. You know, where did somebody find your podcast? Did they find it in Twitter? Did they find it in Facebook? Where do they live? It goes all the way down into city in terms of where the listener lives. How long did they listen? And what you want to know is, like, if I create a half-hour episode and people are knocking off 15 minutes through, and maybe it's the same 15 minutes every time, maybe it's 15 minutes every time, what am I doing at 15 minutes that's causing me to lose my audience? What we found by time spent listening numbers is people were dropping off as soon as they heard the trailer music at the end, and so they weren't hearing the credits. So when you wanted them to hear the, like, share this with your friends, or go to Patreon and give me $1, or whatever you wanted them to do, they weren't doing it because they weren't listening, because they're like, oh, the trailer music's playing and this must be over. We moved the credits and all that stuff to the middle. You'll hear that a lot in podcasts. Or the podcast will do a cold start, and then maybe 5 minutes in, they'll be like, I'm Tina Nole. You're listening to post-production. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram. Follow up my YouTube channel, all that stuff. They put it 5 minutes in instead at the very end because they know people will stay with it. So it's very important.